So if you are a person, say you are a sun sign Libra, the things I might say about air signs and all that, it might not resonate with you if you're a sun sign Libra and say you have a lot of fire in your chart, or say you have a lot of water in your chart. That fire or water energy or element is going to kind of overpower that air energy. So this video may or may not resonate with you. Also, what you need to look at is, of course, look at all the videos that I have in this series, but also look at your air houses. And that's going to tell you a lot about how your energy is going to play out. Houses 3, 7, and 11 are going to be your air houses. So you could be a person, you might not have any planets in air houses. Any planets in an air sign. So you don't have, your sun is not in air, your moon's not in air. None of these planets or celestial bodies are in air signs. But if you have a lot of planets, or more than one planet, or even one planet in an air house, that will give you air energy. So for example, with me, I have my moon in the 3rd house. My moon is in a water sign, but it's in an air house. So I'm gonna have water energy, but it's gonna be played out in an air-like way, if that makes sense. If that makes sense, you get what I'm saying? And then on top of it, I have 3 planets in the 11th house. So I don't have a lot of planets in air, but I have a lot of my planets in air houses. So that will give me some type of air energy that I will give out to people. Does that make sense? Or y'all feeling it, or y'all getting it? So it's very important for you to look at your birth chart. And if you're looking at other people, look at their birth chart and not just their sun sign. It's the biggest thing with astrology, is look at the entire birth chart. One of the key words for air signs, I would say, is definitely, of course, communication. Communication. Communicating. Communication is a big part of the air energy. Now, like I talked about with water, air energy is also very abundant here on Earth. You have to have air in order to live. You know, they say you can go a week without water, 2 weeks without food, or probably like more than 2 weeks, probably 30 days without food, you know, a week or 2 weeks without water. But you can only go 4 minutes without air before you have some type of brain damage, right? So, or die. So it's important to understand that air energy is extremely vital here on Earth, and it's extremely important for us to be connected and to communicate with one another, and that is a big part of the air element. Now, the air signs are going to be Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. So when I say communication, also is verbal and written communication, and also like body language, body gestures, things like that. That's why with me, I talk a lot with my hands. Okay, like I said, I have a lot of planets in air houses, and on top of it, I have Venus in an air sign, and my moon is in the 3rd house. So I'm very, like, my hands are important, especially because it's Gemini energy. I have Venus in Gemini, and then my moon is in the 3rd house, which is the house of Gemini as well. So in Gemini, they rule the arms and the extremities. So I communicate a lot through my hands. So even just looking at a person, you can kind of get an idea of what kind of elements are strong in their chart just by the way that they communicate to you. Astrology is dope. Like, each element is here to teach us something, and each element is here to, it serves a certain purpose. And so what I find a lot with air signs is that, like, Cancers, they pick up on your emotions, right? Fire signs are going to look at your actions, how you acting. But air signs, they're extremely intelligent. They are extremely intelligent signs, because, you know, air can go everywhere. Air is extremely abundant here on Earth, right? It's all over the place. Air everywhere, just like water. And, you know, air can just get in and out of the environment super easily. Air can move around easily. Air can get into anything. Little air bubbles can get into everything. Air is all over the place. And that's similar to like air signs. Like, their energy is kind of all over the place, and they can just pick up on everything about people. They are very, very, very in tune with humans, with the way that we, because communication is extremely important here on Earth, right? So like I said, person's, their body language, their way they speak, the way they write, all those are part of communication. So air signs are very good at picking up on words, picking up on a person's, like, I don't even want to say energy, because that kind of goes into like the water signs, but even just the energy, like air signs can be like, oh, I can tell this person is they lying. They're lying. Because my husband will even be on the phone, because he's a Gemini. And he'll be on the phone and somebody will be talking like, man, she lying. I'm like, how do you know she like? He's like, I just know. He's like, I know how people talk when they're lying, or I know how people do this when they that. Like, he will pick up on stuff. I'll be like, it's not that. So he's like, yes, it is. I know exactly. If this person, they're trying to play me and think I'm stupid. Like, I know what they, like, I get it. And I was like, okay. Like, I don't see it, but okay. But that air energy can really pick up on it. They're extremely, extremely intelligent. Very they're similar to earth signs in that they are logical beings, very similar to Libra. Libras can be very smart, even though some Libras can come off a little, like, I don't want to say dingy, but some Libras can come off kind of like airheads, you know. And there's another astrologer here, Dolo. I watch a lot of his videos, especially when I was like first learning about astrology, and he was like he's like, you know, air signs are airheads. Like, they just be like all up here, you know, like they just be all up in their head with stuff sometimes. And I think that kind of becomes like the fault that they have, is that it's maybe too logical, it's too intellectual, to the point where sometimes you need to just see things as it is versus how you think it is or how you think it should be. You know, they can be fixated on those thoughts. So let's get into more of the actual signs. So the cardinal air sign is going to be Libra. They're the ones who initiate. They initiate how we should communicate to one another. That's why, you know, Libra is that harmonious energy, that courteous energy, that diplomatic energy. They set the standard as to how we should communicate with decorum and things like that in order to get what we want, right? They know how to charm you to get what they want. They show that this is how we communicate with one another in order for us to all live in harmony, right? Because we all want to use our energies to live in harmony. So that's what Libra is. They are the cardinal sign of the air sign. So then next after Libra, so I'm going back that way. So then the fixed sign after that is going to be Aquarius. They are fixated on their thoughts. This is why Aquarius sometimes, like, you can't change their mind about stuff, because they've made up their mind. They made it up. Like, they didn't ask you or use you to give them no, they didn't. They came to their own conclusion. They was like, okay, this da, 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 da. And they was like, you know what, this is what I think. They didn't ask your permission to think that way. They didn't look to you to think a certain way. No, they know what they know, and they keeping it like that. Like I said, I have 3 planets in along with my Mercury, and Mercury is how you communicate. I have 3 planets in the 11th house. So I'm learning more about that Aquarian energy of, like, being very fixated on your own thoughts, and it can lead you down a rabbit hole. You can go straight berserk with that Aquarius energy. That's just that. But anyways, then the next one is going to be mutable energy, which is Gemini. Gemini are like the most air signs that you will find, because it's mutable. Air itself is mutable. Okay, air itself is already like all over the place, and mutable means just it's more pliable, it's more manipulative. It can change easily. It's a very changeable energy. This is why people think that Geminis are very fickle, because they say, oh yeah, your mind changed too much, like the way you think is just changing too much, you flip-flopping. And it's not just that that Geminis have an art form in knowing and being able to see things from a lot of different angles. And I think especially with me, like, I have my moon sign in Gemini, and it can kind of make me feel fickle, like emotionally, because I'm like, well, I get where they're saying with this, but I get how he's feeling about this. I get how she's feeling, and it can make me a little bit fickle, because I really can't pick up on intuitively, because it's a water sign. I have a moon and I have a water moon sign, but it's in an air house. So it's weird. Water and air is very weird. And I have a lot of water and air energy in my chart, and it's extremely confusing. Let's just say that. Let's move on. So anywho, Gemini is going to be that more mutable air. So the way that you would see it in nature, I haven't even, For some reason, talking about air energy has really like messed up my flow of how I've been doing these videos. See, the air energy is just like, forget that structure that you had. You just gonna do this video how you do it, okay? So I'm like tapping into that. So if you look at air in nature, like I said, it's very abundant. And what's so crazy, is interesting, is that air isn't even like, air is, we think of air as just being oxygen. There's so many other elements in air. So I think there's only like, is it 12 or 20% of oxygen in air? Oh my gosh, let me look at it. Air kind of, so yes, only 20% of oxygen in air. It's mostly nitrogen, which I did know that. And then it's like 0.9% argon, 0.03% carbon dioxide. So yeah, there's not even like, air is a mixture of a lot of things. So that even just shows you there, like, that air energy, it seems like, since it's so communicable and it's so logical, it makes me think that in order to be logical, in some sense, you have to be able to see things and think about things on all different levels. Does that make sense? Because if we're talking about the air sign, we're talking about how in order to look at zodiac signs for their element, you need to look at nature. If air itself is a mixture of different gases, it's a mixture of different elements, then if we correlate air signs with being logical, then the whole point of logic, or at the core, to be logical means to have different components within your thinking, to not just think one way. In order to be logical, you need to be able to think in different ways. Was that logical at all, what I just said? Did that make any sense? Let me know. But yes, so I think that's one of the things that we can learn from air signs, is that it's not just one way. Now, some air signs might feel like, no, this is the right way to think, especially the Aquarius energy might be like, no, this is how I see things. Like, no, but like, I think to us, like, the undercurrent energy of air signs is that they understand that, you know, we're all different, and that's okay. We can all be different. You can be who you are, just be who you are. And I think this kind of goes back to Libra being that cardinal sign, the one who initiates how the air element should be, you know, portrayed, is that, you know, Libras can be very accepting of people, very accepting of how people are. Don't try to change you. Just, hey, you are who you are. I'm gonna be who I am. Like, I ain't gonna try to change you. You know what I'm saying? But once again, like I said, you might be a Libra and be like, no, I be changing everybody. You probably got a lot of Virgo in your chart, because Virgo is going to try to change you up and down. Up and down. And even if you're a Libra, you don't even have a lot of Virgo in your chart. If you are like, it depends on your degrees. Like I said, astrology have layers and layers. So if you are like a 1 degree Libra, you're very close to that Virgo energy. So you might have a lot of Virgo tendencies in you, even though you are a sun sign, moon sign, Mercury sign, Libra, but it's in the beginning degrees. So it's very close to that Virgo energy. Y'all, this stuff is like an onion, honey. It's an onion. It's a very connective energy. It connects us all together out in nature. The one thing that we as people need, regardless of what color we are, if we big, little, we live here, we live there, we all need air. Okay, we all need air in order to survive. So if you look at how that plays out in nature, then you'll see that there is a connection that that air signs brings out there, is that we all are connected. Air energy connects people together. Communication. Aquarius energy. Aquarius is traditionally rules astrology. And it traditionally rules the internet. I'm on the internet talking about astrology. What? Aquarius and Uranus energy, because Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. So that energy has to do with us all connecting together on the internet. Like, isn't that crazy? And it's an air sign. So that air energy is going to find ways for us to all just come together in some type of way, whether it be through written communication, through verbal communication, through body language, and even communicating through music, you know. That's why you will see, if you look at like your favorite rapper, I'm telling you, your favorite rapper probably has some type of air sign, especially Mercury in Gemini. Mercury in Gemini is a great placement for rappers. Or even like, because you know, the whole thing with rap is that it's the word, it's the lyricism. It's very heavy on lyrics. Lupe Fiasco, and he even seems like an Aquarius when he rap, because it's highly intellectual, and it's like he's like in his own lane. Like, I don't care if you understand anything I'm talking. Some of the stuff I mean, it's like all over my head. I be like, what did he say? You got to listen to it. Like, you got to really listen to what he's talking about, because it be deep. It's very smart. Air signs are extremely intellectual, but just the thing with them is that they can rely too heavy on their mental intellect versus their emotional intellect versus their intuition versus being like able to sit down and get something done. So for example, Gemini, they say Gemini is the master. No, Gemini is a jack of all trades, master of none, because they got their energy all over the place. The energy is all over the place. Aquarius, it's fixed energy. So Aquarius energy can sit there, come up with these thoughts, come up with ideologies and logics and philosophy about certain things. And then the thing with Aquarius is that they can get, since it is a communicative sign, they can communicate their ideals with other people with so much conviction and so much, I don't necessarily want to say charisma, but it's so much conviction in how they talk and how they present themselves to people that they can literally create a cult. Now, I mean, don't even get into the whole what cult means and all this, but like Aquarius energy is very heavy on creating a vibe, creating a tribe, I should say, like bringing people together around one core belief system, or not necessarily belief system, but one core like cause and thought form. And this is what we want to put out there in the world. This is what we want to communicate to the world. This is what we want the world to start thinking about and really brewing about, so that Aquarius energy can sit there with those thoughts and to create something from that, and then bring people into their energy that will help to then communicate those ideals to other people. And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Bob Marley, he was a sun sign Aquarius, moon Scorpio like yours truly. And Bob Marley, oh my goodness, like what the heck? Like he epitomized the Aquarian energy at like the higher octave of that Aquarian energy, is getting behind a cause. His music really talked about stuff. It had a vibe to it, don't get me wrong. Like you could really feel it. But it had a whole, like he really was talking about things in his music. So keep in mind that all of these signs and is going to have the immature, younger energy. And then it's going to also have the more mature, seasoned, smarter energy, if that makes any sense. So you might be around, you might be like, Geminis is not smart. Like I know some Geminis, or I know some Libras, or you might be dealing with people who are low vibrational. You might, or people who just have not learned how to use their energy, you know, to the highest degree or to a higher degree. So don't get too hung up on that. But at the core of it, air signs, I'm gonna say it again, are very smart. I love me some air signs, especially Gemini. Like Geminis, I've had Geminis in my life, my entire life. So from my brothers to my best friends to my husband, all Geminis. My mom, she's not a Gemini, but she's a Gemini rising. One of my closest childhood friends, Gemini rising. Like I F's with the Geminis. Like I never had an issue with a Gemini, ever. I mean, we might have had a little tiff, but I always got along with Gemini. So it's so important. Like my moon sign is in the 3rd house. So me as a sun sign Cancer, you would be like, how are you getting along with Geminis? Geminis are so intellectual, logic, and Cancers are so emotional. But my moon, which is who you really are, is in the 3rd house. It's in the air house. So emotionally, I will connect with people who have that Gemini energy. So that's why it's so important for you to know your houses and know where your planets are, because it'll tell you why you are able to connect with certain people when it comes to certain things, and certain people will activate certain things within your chart. That's a whole other video, and this stuff just gets deeper and deeper, and this video is already long. But if you got questions about specific things I'm talking about, put them in the comment section. I'll do a separate video. So yes, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about the air signs. very logical, communicative, and that they are here to help us to connect to each other. Okay, Gemini is going to help us to connect to each other in our community. It's more of a community based. The people that we know, our siblings, our cousins, going to help us connect like that. Libra energy is going to help us connect in a way that's more like, that's more pleasurable. Because if you think about it, a lot of times the way people communicate with each other be straight trash. It be straight trash. Like, we don't know how to talk to each other. We don't know how to act towards each other in a way that's, you know, conducive to us actually collaborating. That Libra energy is going to show you how to work together, how to collaborate and to be harmonious and to build that way, and how to come together and do things collaboratively. That's why Libra energy has a lot to do with coupling. The 7th house is the house of marriage. It's the house of partnerships. And Libra is in the 7th house. That's why you gotta look at your 3rd house, your 7th house, and your 11th house to see how air energy is going to be played out in your chart. That Aquarian energy is going to show us how we can connect on an even broader level, and how we can use numbers to come around, to come together collectively, and how we can also stay strong and stay be convicted in what we think about stuff and not waver, because it's easy for air energy to waver, to go from here to there. But that Aquarian energy is saying, like, you can feel a certain way or you can think a certain way. I'm a Cancer, I'm gonna keep on saying feel, but you can think a certain way about something and you can hold on to that, and that could be the way that you see your life. That can be the way you go through life. And you can come around and you can fight for something that you really believe is true, or that you really think is true. And you can do it because you're coming together collectively to get it done. And then also the Aquarian energy, because it is ruled by Uranus, is showing that you don't have to think like everybody else think. You don't have to think like anybody else but yourself. Whatever you feel, here I go to feel, oh my goodness, whatever you think is a way to think. That's okay. You don't have to be like everybody else. You don't have to think like everybody else. And what's so crazy is that I don't want to even, because that's gonna make the video longer, but just know that Aquarian energy is like the people behind the scenes that's really like switching up the game, but you really might not see it because it's Aquarius and they're not very like, hey, look at me, I started that trend. They just do it, and then somebody like a Gemini or a Leo will come and be like, they will put it out there to people and be like, yes, it's the new trend, but it really came from the Aquarian energy. So, I mean, Aquarius gang, I guess. But anyways, I love you all. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you're interested in crystals, go check out my shop. I do have crystals up for sale, and I'm going to be doing video series talking about different crystals for each element. So go check that out. It should be coming up like within the next few weeks. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you have any more video requests. Let me know. Are you air sign, or are you water sign? Like, who's watching this? Do you know your chart? Are you like a air sign? Oh, I will tell you this. Even though I'm talking about air signs, this does in a way, what do you call it, relate to Virgo as well, because Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is the planet of communication. So Virgo energy somewhat fits into this air energy as well, because it is ruled by Mercury. Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo, but Virgo is the earth side of Mercury versus Gemini being the air sign of Mercury. Do that make sense? Oh, and also air signs are masculine, so they're gonna again push their energy out to the collective versus internalizing their energy. But Gemini is kind of internal in a sense too, because I don't know if y'all know this. I've learned it. I've never heard anybody say this, but Moon and Gemini folks, they talk to themselves. People with Gemini in their chart, they be talking to themselves, especially Moon and Gemini. They don't even be knowing they talking to themselves, but it's like they think out loud. It's so weird. And I did this one time and I was like, did I just do that? I have Venus in Gemini and I have my Moon in the 3rd house. But I noticed it with my husband. He has Moon sign Gemini. My mom has Moon sign Gemini. in some spots she has moon sign Taurus. But anyways, I was like, why do they think out loud? It's so interesting. It's very interesting. It's like their way of being able to work through things. So if you are an air sign, it's important for you to speak your truth, to open your mouth and say what you have to say. If you have a lot of planets in air, even if you're not the most communicative person, you need to write your thoughts out. You need to write your feelings out. You need to find a way to express yourself that is going to allow you to get it out, because that air energy, it has to communicate. And if it's not communicating with other people, it's going to communicate with itself. That, I know that sounds crazy, but the thing with that, especially like Virgo, like I said, Virgo and Gemini, they're both ruled by Mercury. And what can happen is it can create a lot of worry in you. It can create a lot of anxiety within you if you do not communicate to other people. So it might not have to be another person, but just talk out loud. It doesn't matter if anybody is around. Like literally right now, I'm talking to myself. There's nobody in this room. Like, I'm talking to you, but really I'm just talking to myself. I'm literally looking in the mirror at myself, pointing at myself. I'm talking to myself. So, and this is cathartic for me. So this is crazy. But if air signs are not able to speak their truth and to say what they have to say, you will see a lot of physical manifestations of not being able to communicate. And it can cause them to worry a lot. It can cause them to go through in their head, spinning around in circles about this thought and that thought. And why did this happen? It's like a computer in their brain, especially Geminis, because I be around Geminis a lot. So I get it. I be like, dude, like, get it out your head. Like, talk about it. Like, say what you got to say. But they will just go back in their head. Oh, did this happen? It's like a little computer. Just all this mental chatter. So it's important, if you do have that air energy, that you speak to yourself, like you say affirmations. It's important that you listen to affirmations. It's important. This is for everybody, but especially if you have air sign heavy in your chart, because this is your innate nature to communicate to others and to yourself. Communication is important for you. So it's so important for you to make sure that your mental talk is on point. You want to make sure you're not telling yourself, oh, I'm fat, I'm lazy, I'm stupid, I'm this. No, you need to make sure your mental talk is on point, because the thing with air signs, since it is a communicative sign, it's like speaking it into existence. So important with air signs. And also thinking it into existence, because you all think so much. You're so smart. So you need to be on the higher level, the more, the more conscious level, the more elevated level of that air energy is to speak in a more positive way to yourself. Don't beat yourself up mentally. And I know it's hard because your thoughts are in your head, like your thoughts are there, like they're just there, like you're trying to get away from them, but they in your head. So it's good to talk about it. Talk about your feelings. Don't let anything, get you out of that. Like I said, one of the downfalls of being an air sign is that you can be very logical, and it can lead you to having like mental issues. Like literally, like air signs can easily have mental issues because they're too much in their head. That's why sometimes you have to come down to earth sometimes, and sometimes you have to be still, and you have to be steady and cemented and grounded, and sometimes you need to rely on your intuition instead of just being like logical. You got to get out of that rat race sometimes, that mental like fog and all that. You got to learn how to clear your mind. So meditation is important as well for air signs. So that's just a little help, because I don't want to just give the information and say this is that, but I want us to all use the elements within our chart in a way that's going to help us to grow, and then that way you can communicate that and talk to other people and help them to grow. So share my videos if you find them helpful. I love you all. Thank you so much for watching. Hey you all, this is Brandy from the future. Something else I wanted to add is that when you think about it, air signs, there's not a lot of weight to air, so it just floats to the top. And with air, like I said, being abundant here on earth and we all need it, it creates a relatedness to everyone. Air signs can be extremely relatable to other people. They know how to get in where they fit in. That's why I said like air pockets, little air bubbles can get anywhere. So they know how to get in where they fit in.
So wherever you have air in your chart, things are going to come a little bit easier to you if you know how to talk to people. Air signs understand the art of small talk, which some signs, especially fire and earth signs, they probably hate small talk. They feel like it's frivolous. Like, it's just like, why am I talking to you about, what the weather is like, or why am I talking to you about, oh, last week this happened. Like, I don't care. Like, that doesn't mean anything. But small talk is extremely important when you want to get into places where you don't necessarily, like, where you didn't earn your way into, but you learn. The thing with air signs is they understand that it's not about what you know, it's about who you know, because they understand that the art of small talk, the art of being able to relate to people, to connect to people on a level that's not just, oh, we have to work together, we have to get this done, but it's just, I know how to talk to you, I know how to keep the energy light, I know how to keep the energy fun, and I know how to get in where I fit in. So small talk is extremely important because you'll be able to get in places where you don't necessarily deserve to be in, and you get information. Information is extremely powerful in the world we live in. You'll just be talking small talk to somebody, and next thing you know, they done told you about this job fair, they done told you about this place that help people with their business or something like that, just from just a conversation. You didn't have to do a lot of work, you just had to open your mouth and talk. So that's that. Or listen to them and you get information from that. So yeah, this is a little tidbit for you all, but I gotta go. It's like early in the morning, and I know my throat probably sound, the throat chakra, it needs some libations. Also, when you have air in your chart, a lot of air, or wherever you have it in your chart, people might not take you seriously. It just depends on where it falls. Like, I have air in my chart and it falls into all my earth houses. So it allows me to be able to walk it like I talk it. Like, I can talk about something and I can actually execute it because I have that earth energy to help me do it. But the thing with air signs is that they're very much verbal. They're very much communicative. They're very much in the sense of not necessarily doing something physically. So people might not take them seriously. Just the same on the flip side, if you have a lot of earth in your chart, people might take you to, like, you're extremely too serious. Like, oh my goodness, this person needs to lighten up a little bit. That person needs a little bit of air infused into their energy. And you can do that by being around certain people. Certain people activate certain parts of your chart. But there's ways to, if you don't have it naturally in your chart, there's ways to integrate it into your energy. But that's another video. All